Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Faye Watt, and let's queer up historic 2025 Pride Month. WorldPride hotel booking forecast predicts disappointing turnout and 20% drop in sponsorship. There's a dark cloud hanging over WorldPride DC, taking place starting this week in Washington, D.C., in the shadow of the White House. What was promoted as a landmark global celebration of LGBTQ unity is now facing mounting concerns over low turnout, changes in major events, and shrinking financial support. Despite early projections that WorldPride 2025 would bring up to 3 million visitors to Washington, D.C., the city's hotel bookings are painting a much different picture. According to Kyle Deckenbaum of Destination D.C., hotel reservations for both the opening and closing weekends are actually down by 3% compared to the same time last year. Deckenbaum cautions that this data only reflects D.C. hotels. And while he points to an overall drop in international travel to the U.S. this year, activists from Europe, Canada, and Mexico have openly said they're skipping the event in protest of President Donald Trump's anti-LGBTQ policies, particularly those targeting transgender people. Local hotels aren't sold out, and some are even offering discounts. Adding to the tensions is a reported 20% drop in corporate sponsorship. Still, Ryan Bowles, executive director of Capital Pride Alliance, remains hopeful. He told the Washington Blade that WorldPride is more than numbers. It's a symbol of defiance and joy in a hostile political climate. This week's programming remains packed. From the WorldPride Film Festival, Mayor Bowser's flag-raising ceremony, and the June 7th parade with Grand Marshals Laverne Cox, Renee Rapp, and Deacon McElbin. Last night, PBS NewsHour featured WorldPride, and Queer News Tonight reports it here with Ryan Bowles, executive director of WorldPride.
WorldPride, the international LGBTQ plus celebration, is underway in Washington, D.C. against the backdrop of the Trump administration rolling back LGBTQ plus rights and protections, particularly for transgender people. The co-creator of the ACLU's Freedom to Be campaign, which advocates for trans people's rights, says that makes the event all the more significant.
There's nothing that Donald Trump has done or can do to LGBT people that we have not faced before. We have to show up for one another and show that, no, the power actually lives with us, the people. And if, he wants us sitting in our homes, scrolling on our phones, terrified of what will come next, I think what's important for us to do is remember that courage is contagious.
But President Trump's anti-DEI policies have led some corporate sponsors to drop out, and some foreign transgender groups have canceled their participation. June Crenshaw is the deputy director of the Capital Pride Alliance, the Washington, D.C. group hosting WorldPride. June, when Washington was selected to be the host city for WorldPride, as I understand it, the idea was it'll be a celebration of the 50th anniversary of D.C. Pride, the Washington, D.C. Pride event. With what's happened with the second Trump administration, has the emphasis and maybe the tone changed?
We certainly expected for WorldPride to be a different celebration. And since the Trump administration, we've had to pivot and really go back to our roots when prides were protests, and to really shift to an advocacy type of approach, but not forgetting the fact that we needed to build unity and community and also experience joy. We weren't prepared for the swiftness of these real horrific actions towards members of our community, and really are having to adjust to the new circumstances. And again, Washington, D.C. is a perfect place for this, because it's a place where resistance occurs, activism occurs, but also progress.
Some people who were planning to come from foreign countries, sort of outsiders looking in, have expressed concern about personal safety, particularly transgender people. 3 European nations have issued travel advisories. The Canadian LGBTQ plus rights group Eagle Canada canceled its participation. We have a bit of tape here from a member of Toronto's Club for Trans and Binary Swimmers. Let's take a listen.
Can my team's rights be respected? Are we going to be arrested just for existing? Are we going to be assaulted? and have the authorities defend us instead of the attacker? Those are all questions we couldn't definitively say yes to, so we had to say, no, we can't come.
What do you say to people who have those feelings?
Those are really legitimate concerns, and we certainly don't want to minimize anyone's safety. We are asking individuals to consider their safety and their entire circumstances when making a decision to attend. But for those members of our community that can show up, we're asking you to show up. It is so important for us to have unity and visibility and resistance in this moment. The Trump administration wants us to disappear, and really showing up for WorldPride is a direct no to that request.
A number of longtime corporate sponsors have pulled out, citing the administration's orders on DEI. Booz Allen Hamilton, Deloitte, Comcast. How have you been affected by that?
We've been impacted by that, just as many prides across the nation and even globally. I would say that we've seen probably a 20% reduction in our corporate sponsors than years past. And it's hard to tell the most vulnerable members of our community to be visible, to resist, when corporations that have resources and power are not finding avenues to do that. So it's disappointing, but it sets us back to our roots of, really looking to the community and not brands to advocate for us. There have been many organizations that have continued to support and to stand with us, and we have a long memory of who those individuals are.
To be sure, there are celebratory events. There will be a parade. There'll be a street festival. What's the overall message you hope comes out of this event?
That we are a strong, resilient group, that we've navigated this before, that there's opportunities for us, again, to show unity, to come together, to develop an agenda of fighting back, that there should be strategies around protecting the most vulnerable members of our community that are losing rights, the ability to serve in the military, and a whole sundry of other things that are happening. We are here, we're not going anywhere, and we need to come together and fight back all the horrific laws and the ways in which our community is being targeted.
June Crenshaw, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So you know what? Let's be honest. This stings. This hurts, right? But it's not just about numbers. It's about what it means when even we hesitate to show up in our own capital in an election year with our rights on the line. Some say it's fear. Some say it's a boycott. But let's be clear. WorldPride is still happening and it's still ours. Now more than ever, Pride isn't just a party. It's a protest. And showing up, especially in this political climate, is the message. Whether you're in the streets, online, or just living visibly, your presence matters, especially during this time. So no WorldPride DC isn't canceled, by no means, not by Trump, not by low attendance, and not by corporations pulling out. We are still here, and if we don't show up for ourselves, then who will?
And to echo that, what I want to say is this: when organizations are out there making statements across the board saying that we are going to skip Pride, who are you protesting? You think you're protesting Trump? You're protesting your own community. So this is not the time for us to hide. It's the time for us to come out of hiding and take to the streets and do exactly what happened 40 years ago ago, no, 50 years ago, correct? Wow, that's how long it is, okay? But 50 years ago, when that first rock was thrown and we stood for our rights, we stood for the choice to have our lives, this is that time again. This is the resurgence of that call. So now, we've carried this torch for our generations. Our generation has carried this torch. Hey guys, LGBTQ youth, now it's time for you to grab that torch and keep on going. Let's go.
For sure. Unfortunately, Shakira has also abruptly canceled her scheduled performance at WorldPride. So maybe hips do lie after all. But that said, as somebody who was at the 1987 March on Washington, at the 1993 March on Washington, and most recently at the 2017 March on Washington, there's nothing like being in a city full of queer people. The feeling is amazing. So maybe this WorldPride debacle may be a period here. Maybe the next thing is another march. That 2017 march happened after Trump's election for the first term.
Yeah.
And it was incredible. So maybe the thing next is, like you said, take to the streets. Maybe it's time for another march.
Angel?
I mean, I did some research into that. Between 2024 and 2025, this was a research by Gravity Research Group. The Fortune 100 companies, there has been a 72% drop in support for DEI initiatives. So I don't see like the 20% drop in sponsorship rates. I mean, these companies, they're not supporting us anymore, right? Companies that were so evidently supportive of the community before, now, I mean, we're seeing that drop in sponsorship rate. I don't think we should give up. I think this is just for us to rally and get back on our feet, right? Companies may have pulled that funding, but we still have that pride within us. And as a community, this is the time where we come together and we continue to rally on, because this is not the end of us.
So there's something too about what you're saying, right? The 20% that we still need to continue rallying on. There's something that happens in transformational conversations, right? When you're growing, and sometimes perfectionists, we get committed to perfection, right? We get committed to what it looks like. If right now as an LGBTQ community, we're the most creative community there is, okay?
We are.
And we don't need 100% of the budget to make it look 100%. So right now we get to dig deep into those other skill sets that we have, and we get to take 20% and turn it into 100% because we don't need 100%. And we also don't have to be attached to what it looks like. Maybe this year it looks like this without 70% of the support from those, corporations, those Fortune 100 corps. But you know what? Next year, when everybody's fighting to get in, now we tax them.
Right.
Let's go.
Exactly. You stayed quiet last year, right? So you didn't want to support us, but now that. And now understand that our sternness, right, is because we care, is because we're passionate about our community, right? But that being said, I also want to give a thought out to our trans siblings. I totally understand you not coming to the U.S. from another country. Don't get that twisted. I'm not mad at you. I get that. I would be in fear myself to come into this country with the fear that Trump might not let me out or send me to El Salvador.
Right.
So that I get, that part. But that doesn't make it right at all. Again, lowest hanging fruit and the most affected.
Right. But safety first.
Safety first. And trust me, WorldPride is going above and beyond when it comes to security also. They up the ante because they have to, because they want to keep us safe. So if you are off, get your butt over to DC Pride, all right? It's freaking 10 days of partying and fun, okay? Trust me, you'll find a new boo. Or maybe you'll add to the current boo that you have, Have a great time. J-Lo is still headlining, baby. So it's going to be a great time, all right? And that is the big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.